We're hearing from Alliant Payments, and the topic is cryptocurrency payment industry. I'd like to welcome to the stage Eric Brown, who is the CEO and founder of Alliant Payments, the first company in the payment processing industry to sign an exclusive partnership with the Litecoin Foundation. Can you please give him a very warm welcome to the stage?
Hi guys, how's everybody doing today? Great. All right. My name's Eric Brown. I'm the CEO of Alliant Payment Systems. So let me tell you just a little bit about Alliant Payment Systems. We're basically your traditional payment processing company. We've been in business for about 16 years. We've got a little over 8,000 merchants, and we process a little over $2 billion annually. So that's basically all your major credit cards, ACH transactions. Our niche market has always been in high risk e-commerce market. We do a lot of card not present transactions, a lot of custom integrations. So we work with a lot of different payment gateways. What does that really mean? We basically take an e-commerce business and we link that up to payments, and we just have the flow of the payments from when you're purchasing something through a shopping cart all the way through to making that deposit. We carry 3 registrations with different banks. Those registrations allow us to work through different banks, allows us to get a lot of different approvals on different types of accounts. How we really got into as far as crypto payments, usually people ask me, we're a traditional payment company, how did this really happen? So because of our clientele, they're constantly looking for, alternative payments. They're looking for ways to pay. And with traditional banking right now, sometimes in the high-risk market or in e-commerce market, what you see are higher fees. You'll see risk that involve from chargebacks and things along those lines. So my job at Alliant Payments is to make sure that we're looking at different alternatives for businesses out there. I would say that we are a mid-level type company. We don't really deal with a whole lot of Fortune 500s, really. We deal with a lot of mid-level. I would say the sweet spot is probably somewhere between 5 million and 500 million a year annually processed. Okay. I became an investor. Somebody got me into, I had a good friend actually out in Colorado. He runs a hedge fund and got involved in crypto investing, which of course, as we all know, is pretty fun. Not as of late. But I'm sure things will be getting better. So as I got involved with that, I saw the value of crypto. And it really, to me, it was pretty crystal clear, actually, that this was the future of my industry. I've never done anything else. This is the only thing I've ever done. I've been in the business for 21 years now, my own company for 16 years. So when actually I started learning about blockchain, definitely not a tech guy, by the way, but started learning about blockchain and crypto. And like I said, it's pretty crystal clear. I just saw that there was a lot of value. The current system that we use right now is pretty dated. I mean, it goes back to the 60s, okay? So those are the banking rails and some of the credit card rails that we use right now. Obviously, our payment system was evolved back then where we didn't have the internet, things along those lines. So from what I see with blockchain and cryptocurrencies it's a currency now that is finally caught up to, how we actually interact with each other when it comes to payments, and then also businesses where you purchase goods and services from. So the reason why I jumped into it was, once I saw that, I realized that was what I felt like was the future. I had a good friend, really, bringing me up to speed. And I had basically asked him, why can't we do this for our high-risk clients? Why can't we take a cryptocurrency? The benefits were no chargebacks. You could do a cross-border transaction much faster. The fees were better. My job is basically to sell these services to business owners. So when people look at and talk about adoption, that's really my job. My job is to go out there and sell it and market it to these businesses and make sure that they see the value, the benefits of this type of payment option. So that's really what we did. We got started, got involved in that. Started looking at some different options as far as what we could do within the payment industry. We weren't looking at the investment side. A lot of people do ask me about that. I don't really pay attention to it a whole lot. My job is really focused on adoption and payments. That's really where it's at. So once we basically developed out our portal, developed out our network as far as looking at what were the things that were actually going to benefit a merchant? What is a merchant looking for? And a lot of you guys might not know, but a merchant is looking for guaranteed funds. They're looking to move this money quickly, and they're looking to do it cost effectively, okay, and with little to no risk. So those are the things that we basically had to accomplish. And that's really what we went out and did. So, we were looking at bringing that product into merchant base where they could bring it into an e-commerce environment, that or mobile environment, possibly using a email invoice option, which is something that we would do for what would be like card not present merchants. Card not present merchants just being there taking your credit card information over the phone, that or via email, so on and so forth. So when we created our product, those were all the things that we looked at. But we also knew that we needed to convert over to a fiat currency as well, because as of right now, a lot of the merchant base out there, which we've dealt with for many, many years, we knew that we did need to convert to a fiat currency. So that was very difficult to accomplish. We basically, we have a lot of banking relationships doing what we do. Placed quite a few calls. I was actually doing a speaking engagement much like this. One of the banks was out, in the crowd. This is the importance of these types of shows and summits and trade show events. Actually listening to somebody speak, getting in front of them, making that introduction. That bank actually approached me and said, hey, we'd be interested in working with you guys on your crypto platform. And I was like, okay, great. We started chatting, and over a few months, many compliance calls, I can't even tell you how many, compliance documentation. We were able to have the bank actually start working with us, where we were actually able then to push fiat currency or US dollars out to these merchants. What that's going to help do is really bridge, cryptocurrency with fiat currency. Until there becomes a time where cryptocurrency is something that merchants are actually going to hold out there and understand how to hold and use. We felt like this was something that was really needed. We really needed to convert. We did get that done. We launched that about 4 weeks ago, actually, with a domestic bank here. That bank is 100 years old and publicly traded. But I think, for the people here in the room, you see there that, sometimes I've heard, banks are evil empire, but there are definitely banks that are out there that are interested in getting involved in this. And, we had found that relationship, set that up, and, able to provide that service to our merchants. And, so the idea for us, I get a lot of questions about adoption. What are we doing when it comes to, talking to merchants, and how are we getting, accounts signed up, and so on and so forth. My particular industry being in mid-level market, basically I contract with a lot of these banks. There's a lot of other companies that are similar to mine that have a lot of different relationships out there, whether it's software vendors, they might be working with, maybe an ATM line of companies, point of sale companies, so on and so forth. They're setting up credit card services, ACH services. The idea for me was, how was I going to get this out there, and how was I going to actually start assisting with adopting cryptocurrency? And I do that basically through our reseller network. There's a lot of resellers out there, big companies, large companies. One of the companies we recently signed, some of the people might have seen that we signed, was a company called iPayment. They were actually acquired by another company called PaySafe about a month and a half ago. That made them the 5th largest non-financial institution processor in the country, with 250,000 merchant accounts and processing almost $100 billion a year in credit card payments. So this is a company that is very pro-crypto, had signed on with Alliant for our product. And we are still going through talks with them as far as bringing on more and more merchants. But this is basically what we've done as far as from the payment side of things. This is how, instead of Alliant just going out and signing a merchant here, signing a merchant there, we're actually going out and educating the actual merchant processing industry. Okay, all the payment guys that are out there. I just came from a show yesterday. We were in Phoenix for 2 days. I've done quite a few speaking engagements, talked to a lot of my peers, and I would definitely say this last show, by far, there was the most interest, you know? I think what you're gonna see there is once the payment guys really do adopt this, you're gonna start getting that out to merchants. Once merchants get comfortable with it, then what happens are consumers are using it, merchants are pushing it. You know, we're looking at different ways of, you know, making sure that the merchants are gonna push it. You know, right now we're offering $10,000 worth of free processing the first 30 days. We'll look at different incentive programs for them to utilize this service. So those are some of the things that we're doing as far as helping adoption. And in my particular industry, I think just as a company ourselves, if we, you know, you can show how much interest there actually is in this out there with a lot of the media that's out there. I believe our PR department had told me that we're almost up to, you know, 90 media write-ups in 10 months. I wouldn't say that we had 10 in 5 years before that. Okay? There's just not a whole lot of exciting news to talk about when it comes to payments. Pretty much the same thing. As of recent, we were in Nielsen Report, BusinessInsider.com. So I think what you guys see there is some activity. There's definitely interest in what we're doing. And I think what happens is adoption kind of comes through us. It kind of comes through the payment industry. Once you get out there and you're able to, you know, go to the pizza shop, you're able to go to the gas station, you're able to go to the grocery store, your car insurance, you know, whatever it may be, all those things that you pay for on a regular, everyday basis, as those merchants adopt those payments and they see the benefits, then it just happens that consumers will be able to use it more and more. I know I'm a pretty young guy. Well, I like to think I am anyways. But debit card adoption was something I went through. So when I started in this industry, there were no debit cards at all. You know, the original ATM cards had come out. We had actually had to go around to merchants. Part of my job was hoofing it on the street in downtown Washington, D.C. Rough neighborhoods, by the way. There were some interesting days out there. And selling debit cards to merchants. That took the better part of probably about 10 years or so. Now, if you're to look at debit cards, everybody's got one. I think there's a total debit card circulation of somewhere around 490 million with debit card circulation that's out there right now. So I think when it comes to adoption and what you see as far as in the payment industry, it is going to take some time, but the underlying technology of this is, you know, it's very sound. It's not going anywhere. You know, it's here to stay. It's just a matter of time before it really gets out there. I believe it's been very well adopted by, you know, quite a few of my peers. And, you know, really how I'm getting out to them is really in kind of a competitive nature. You know, letting them know that, you know, we've done very well with this. We find merchants that are interested, and in turn, you know, signing a pretty large company that has a lot of interest in this, it starts becoming competitive, right? You know, not any different than the issuing side of credit cards where banks are issuing cards. You know, they're constantly looking for your business. So we're gonna see more and more of that as well out there. You know, it's gonna get very competitive in our industry. That competition then, and just in turn, you're gonna have more and more merchants that are signing up for this, you know, signing up for this service. I do believe it's the future of our industry. I think that there's a little bit ways to go when it comes to the technology factor, especially when it comes to retail transactions. Retail transactions need to be fast, very fast, need to be very fluid. So what we're looking for is some more speed out of those transactions. I think we're also gonna see the costs come down as well. And I think as new technology rolls out, companies like mine, like Alliant Payments, we will adopt that technology. And then our job is to get it out there, talk to the merchants about it, get them set up, make sure that they understand it, make sure they're using it, understand the reporting of it, and you know, continue pushing those products out there. So does anybody have any questions real quick at all?
How do you handle market risk?
Excuse me?
When you are receiving cryptocurrency and you have long exposure to the market, risk, how does your processing?
Yeah, so what we're basically doing is, just making sure that we're liquidating the coin as soon as possible. We're not letting a merchant hold on to a coin by any means. We're making sure that we're liquidating that as soon as possible and doing the transactions in a very timely fashion. So volatility is a question that we get quite a bit. But it's something that we definitely, limiting the time of when that transaction can be done when we get that coin is get rid of that coin as soon as possible. We are definitely looking at, other products that are out there that will help with volatility. But it's definitely an issue. When it comes to merchants, they're still looking for US dollars. They're still looking for guaranteed payments. So those are challenges over this last year that we've looked at and played around with and make sure that we're fine-tuning that as much as possible. And that is something that we're going to continue to look at. But it's a great question. It's probably the number one question I get. Go ahead.
Pay for liquidity when you do that?
Yeah, you do actually. Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so basically the billing, how we bill out the merchants, we just kind of mimic what the credit card world is. Just so you guys know, on the credit card world, it's pretty ugly. It's about 800 line items long of different fees that come from Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. It's very frustrating for merchants. It's frustrating for us as a company. They evaluate those fees. They tend to raise those fees a lot. There's not a lot we can do but necessarily pass those fees through. But what we did is said, look, the merchants are familiar with this billing, so they're familiar with paying what we call a discount rate or a percentage. There's also a transactional fee, so a per item fee, which might be 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, and then typically a small monthly fee. We can adjust those fees based on merchant type, volume, and things along those lines. But when we were designing our program, the idea was, look, we kind of need to bridge, if the credit card world to the crypto world. That's what we need to do. And until it evolves more and more, the idea is give them something that they know, give them something that they're familiar with. That way they're going to use it. The idea is, we don't want to sign them up and people not use it. So that's really what we've done with the fees. But we kept it very basic with the fees because we felt like it was a good selling feature. They understood it, but they liked the simplicity of it.
So how much as a merchant am I going to save you getting a payment in crypto? Right now I'm paying about 3% to 5% when I receive a Visa or an American Express
Right.
payment. If I go with receive Litecoin or Bitcoin using Alliance, what is my savings?
Right, so depending on your business model, so I'll give you the very high range all the way down to the low range. My high risk clients will typically pay a 10% reserve. That means 10% of all their credit card transactions will be moved into a reserve account, and that could offset any potential losses. Losses being chargebacks, customer disputes. Maybe it's a company that's not providing a service, or maybe it's what's called friendly fraud as well. Friendly fraud being somebody who's just, trying to get a product out of a merchant, calling a credit card company, disputing the transaction. This is a very, very costly part of the credit card business. So 10% reserve, those fees typically could be 4, 5, 6%. So you're looking at potentially around 16% as a kind of a high risk merchant. On the lower end of things, right, on the low risk level, you're typically going to look somewhere around 2.5%, 3% in that neighborhood. The reason being is, who here, raise your hand, has got a rewards card in this room? I just like to be curious to see who's got a rewards card. So what, maybe 75, 80%? The merchants pay for that, guys. Okay? Every time you run your rewards card and you guys are getting points, the merchants are being billed a higher fee. Okay? Right, so now you guys know that fee goes up, okay? With our program, we're down to 1%, 1.5%, 2%. We're right in that neighborhood right there. We want to be more competitive than the credit card world. We don't have to deal with the card brand costs that are constantly fluctuating. And it frustrates a merchant. Sometimes it's difficult to do your reporting, so on and so forth. But yeah, so we'd be somewhere in that 1%. It would be as high as 3%, depending if it's a real high risk type business. But typically we're looking at 1, 1.5%, 2% in that neighborhood. 5 cents a transaction. It could be it'll never be higher than $10 a month. And what we like is $5 a month. And that's just because we do have work that we are doing as far as reporting, IRS reporting, things along those lines. Yeah. Yeah, incentive. Yeah, that's pretty. It's definitely incentive based. So, I would say you're either providing them a discount, you're providing them, something. A 2-for-1 maybe. I'm not exactly sure what the business is, but it would definitely be incentive driven. How does the credit card industry work? It's incentive driven. It's not incentive driven for the merchants. It's incentive driven on the consumer level, right? You have rewards. Okay, I don't think personally I paid for a plane ticket in probably 10 years at this point, with your rewards card. So it's definitely all incentive. If you are a merchant and you want to move consumers, over into crypto, what you want to do is incentivize them. It's simple as that.
On your POS equipment, does it come alongside existing equipment or does it stand alone?
Yeah, it's both actually. So what is really nice about how cryptocurrency has come up as of late, a lot of the equipment that we're using now is cloud-based, open SDKs, so on and so forth, which we love. I actually just came from a trade show. We're looking at picking up another line of equipment right now, and what we're seeing is the equipment was pretty tough. It was, they were kind of clamped down at the processor level. There wasn't a whole lot we could do. We really had to let them do most of it. That has all changed now. So one of the pieces of equipment, anybody who's followed us on Twitter knows anything a little bit about us, would be the point terminal. The point terminal, which is a small POS unit, is actually developed by the same guy who developed Google Pay. Okay, one of the main head engineers for Google Pay. So what happens now is we're able to actually grab equipment, open SDK, play around in the sandbox, put our product on there, and that's another thing that we want to look at. When new technology comes up, Lightning Network, which I know we're all kind of excited to hear about. That's something that we'll look at and see how that's going to work and how we're going to integrate it into point of sale. But I would say right now, where the point of sale systems have moved, it's very crypto friendly right now. I think it's really not too difficult for us to actually get a crypto payment service onto a point of sale system right now.
Have you worked with any majors like Aloha or anybody like that?
So not any of these, let's say, restaurant type programs right now. They're actually a little behind. They're not even caught up on EMV yet. So if anybody knows EMV is chip card processing. One of the products that we're looking at, and we'll go ahead and it's not anything that's done, guys, but we'll give you a little bit of tidbit of what we're working on. We're working with a payment gateway right now. So a payment gateway would be something that links up again to your e-commerce site. It's basically a virtual terminal type product. This particular payment gateway has the ability of lighting up physical devices via their cloud product. This is a company that we've been talking to for probably 4 or 5 months, and we're looking at integrating our crypto product into there. From what we know, this would basically be the first payment gateway out there that you would actually, as a merchant, have access to major credit cards, debit cards, ACH, and crypto, and it would be all in one place. Okay, we actually are in chats with them right now. We're looking to see what the development would be, cost, time, and so on and so forth. We are also looking at moving our whole portfolio of business over there to leverage this deal. So those are the types of things that we're doing at that mid-level type market. It's important to get involved with the payment gateways. They have middleware products. They have all kinds of ways of lighting up devices and actually getting out to merchants 10,000, 50,000 at a time. So not instead of having to sign off 1 merchant, 2 merchants, we're able to get it out there to a lot of mass merchants at one time. And those are things that we keep on working on. Any other questions at all? Okay, so just a little bit, I guess I got a few more minutes here to go with you guys. As far as a little bit more on the point of sale type stuff, that's really what the future you're gonna see. And basically how we access that is via QR code. So when you're able to run a crypto transaction, we're basically pulling up a QR code so you can access your wallet. Go ahead, access your wallet, process the transaction, runs through the point of sale system, and then we're able to go ahead and make that deposit out there to those merchants. So we're going to continue working on that. It's something that it's pretty high on our roadmap of things to do. And it's what we kind of feel is the future as far as the retail is continue to work on the cloud-based type systems at all.
So it sounds like you guys are positioned right now for the interim when there's a go-between. what's the company going to move towards when it becomes a true peer-to-peer environment, say 5, 6, 7 years from now? Where are you going to position yourself there?
If that's where the market goes and the merchants want to be able to hold on to crypto or go into that environment, that's exactly the direction that we'll go in. We'll continue to see what we feel like how adoption is going. There just seems to be a lot of different options right now with crypto, and again with things like Tether and so on and so forth, taking out volatility. As people get more comfortable with crypto, we will move into that and continue to evolve. I think we were one of the first to evolve this product, which I'm very pleased, and we're very excited at seeing what's new and coming up. But we're going to be constantly looking for something new. We're going to constantly be looking for what we feel is going to be the most efficient and the most cost-effective. I mean, that's our job. Our job is to be efficient, cost-effective, and guaranteed funds, and we're going to continue to look that way. Yeah.
No chicken and egg here with the retailers and the consumers. The consumers are saying, I'm not, the retailers don't accept crypto, so I don't have it. And the retailers saying, well, no one uses
Right,
crypto.
yeah, I've heard that a lot, actually.
So I'm curious what your strategy is, first of all, going into that, like how you talk to the retailer. And if you're talking to a retailer that says nobody has crypto, do you support the retailers? Do you give them like signage to talk to their customers about crypto or anything like that?
So we actually take it a little bit far. So basically you're asking, how do we pitch a merchant, really, is what the question is, correct? How do we pitch a merchant? How do we sell a merchant on crypto? We go into some of those things that we talked about as far as the actual transactions themselves being more efficient and cost effective and so on and so forth. But one of the things we are actually doing right now is we're working on a competitive and PR nature as well. We're looking at businesses and asking them, are you a forward-thinking business? Are you first or are you last? Which one are you? Exactly, and you know what? It gets to people. Who wants to be last in the room, by the way? You guys are all here. You're first, right? Business owners are extremely competitive, so we will tap into that nature, and we will flat out be like, do you want to be first? Do you want to be last? I just signed up your neighbor. They've got it already. They're already on social media. So it's not so much the signage. We can definitely do the signage. But what we'll do is we'll kind of coach them through the actual PR marketing part of it, the social media aspect, working with us on social media, getting the word out there, which of course is going to boost their business. And every business owner out there is looking to boost their business. That's what they're looking to do. So there's some other things around cryptocurrency that bring value to a merchant that are not necessarily the actual processing of the transaction itself. It's letting people know that they are that forward-thinking business. So that's one way that we do it. Another thing could be is just gauging, as far as what they're, are they currently an investor? Do they have anything involved with crypto right now? Another thing that we do as far as when we're pitching a merchant, our large ticket items are definitely something that we go after. I mean, you're a boat dealer, car dealer, those are something where, literally my neighbor across the street from me, he's a boat dealer. Let him know you can take a Bitcoin transaction, that transaction clears. I mean, literally 15 minutes later, you could be handing the guy keys to the boat. Okay. I live in South Florida. This particular person could be from anywhere in the world. And if they're doing that transaction and, that's a cross-border transaction, they're paying the exchange rate and fees and so on and so forth. So what we do is basically learn about the business owner, where their transactions, who their customers are, showing what the value is, but showing also about the PR and marketing value as well. So that's kind of how we go about pitching a merchant. Well, I flunked out of CPA school, to be honest with you, so I don't know I'm quite the guy to talk to. I was supposed to be one. I guess I was better at sales. As far as when it comes to the tax stuff, we'll let them know that it just needs to be reported as general income. So we just make sure to let them know, because we do get the question actually, and we let them know, look, if you're taking a credit card transaction, cash transaction, remember this is a true payments option. So it's not looking as we're an investor, you're holding that money, you're actually gaining a profit from that, correct? So they're just looking at as general income into the business, and it's just a different vehicle of getting that money into their business actually. So, and from there, but we always do let them know, please make sure and check with your CPA and find out. But as far as what we've done with our CPA firm, that's pretty much the standard answer that we give out there.
So there's really no roadblock?
No, there's none at all. There's none at all. Tell you the truth, guys, there's really no, it's hard for them to actually say no. When we're out there and we're pitching them, it would only be the people that are, hey, this is smoke and mirrors, or those are the only people, and there's not a lot you can do with that. We go ahead and just say, okay, smoke and mirrors. You'll remember this conversation in 5 years. That's great. But we go ahead and let that person think smoke and mirrors. When somebody is more forward thinking, how are you going to say no? There's no drawback to it. We're doing it free for 30 days. You don't even have to pay for anything if you don't want to. So we're really making it very tough for them to actually say no to this product. And I think what we've done as far as marketing it and how it works and breaking it down to be a very simple, very straightforward. And guys, that's what merchants want. They just don't want it to be complicated. They want it to be straightforward. They want it to be cost effective. And we know that. We deal with them for many, many years. Like I said, we have thousands of merchants. I have peers in my industry that have hundreds of thousands of merchants. We know what these people are looking for.
Well, I'm not gonna.
Probably run out of time for questions.
All right.
If there's a real quick one, we could probably fit in.
All right, cool. All right.
Well, the steps to sign up. Well, I came here for this. We have a small to medium-sized business. And,
Okay.
I came to the convention looking for innovative ways to receive payments. I see no obstacles in accounting.
Right.
In order to do this, because
It's
putting the money into your money and depositing in the same account.
right.
So how can I get that done?
Right. So it's actually probably a really good way to end, so you guys know how do we actually sign somebody up, right? What do we actually do to go through to sign up a merchant? We're a fully compliant product. What that means is KYC, which is know your customer, and AML, which is anti-money laundering laws. We have to follow those guys. This is the only way the bank lets us convert to US dollars. So we follow that. So what we do is we take all of your business information, personal information, we make sure and run that against, Equifax, we'll check DOJ, DOG, we'll check, we're not doing any financial underwriting, which is great, which we have to do in the credit card industry. So we're just making sure you are who you are. Once we've done that, it's a pretty fast process. I literally can have merchants up and running in an hour. It is not difficult for us, guys. It is that fast. We're moving to a web-based sign-up service right now as well. And once you submit in your docs, we'll have it down to a matter of 15 minutes. So, when we're out there, we definitely can get people signed up very quickly. But what's key for us is we have to do all the KYC stuff. We have no choice. It's very unfortunate, but it's just part of our industry, anti-money laundering laws. And then also we have to risk analyze the transactions as well. And when you're able to do that, we were able to satisfy a bank. And I think, that's where you're going to see adoption. When you get some of these banks that start nodding their heads and say, yeah, we see that as if it's being done this way, yeah, we'll get involved in it. But I think what we're going to do, like I said, within an hour, I can have a merchant up and running and very quickly integrated compared to let you guys know, sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 months on a high-risk merchant to get them set up. It's that long. So yeah, we can get them set up very fast. Guys, I think I'm out of time. I appreciate your time very much. And it's great seeing everybody here at Litecoin Summit. And thank you so much for your time. All right.